And welcome back, students, to another thing in static methods and variables. We are going to today discuss wrapper classes and boxing. So first off, let's talk about wrapper class. Java treats the primitive types such as int or double differently from class types such as string and programmer-defined classes. For example, later in the chapter, we're going to see that an argument to a method is treated differently depending on whether the argument is of a primitive or of a class type. Sometimes you may want to use a value of a primitive type, but you want to or need the value to be an object of the class type. Wrapper classes provide a class type corresponding to each of the primitive types, so you can have an object of class type that behaves somewhat like its corresponding primitive type. So let's just look at quickly an example with the integer class. So to convert a value of a primitive type to an equivalent value of a class type, you create an object of the corresponding wrapper class using the primitive type value as an argument to the wrapper class constructor. The wrapper class for the primitive type int is the predefined class integer. If you want to convert an int value, such as 42, to an object of type integer, you can do as follows. Integer object equals new integer 42. Right, boxing and unboxing. So the variable integer object now names an object of the class integer that corresponds to the int value 42. The integer object does have the int value 42 stored within an instance variable object. So if I actually look in that object, if I were to actually open it up, I'd see in there's an int equal to 42. This process of going from a value of a primitive type to that of an object of its wrapper class is sometimes known as boxing. And we will soon see that Java can do the automatic work of it. So to go in the reverse direction from that of the object to the of type integer to the corresponding int, we do the following. Int I equals integer object dot int value. The method int value recovers the corresponding int value from the object of type integer. This process of going from an object of a wrapper class to the corresponding value of a primitive type is sometimes called unboxing. Again, we will see that Java can do this automatically and pretty much do all the work of unboxing for us. Now let's talk about some other wrapper classes. The wrapper classes for the primitive types byte, short, long, float, double, and char are, of course, byte, short, long, float, double, and character. Right? So it's pretty easy to remember. A lot of it's just, hey, it's just uppercase, or except for like char and int are fully spelled out. The methods for converting from the wrapper class object to the corresponding primitive type are int value for the class integer, byte value for the class byte, short value for the class short, long value for the class long, float value for the class float, double value for the class double, and of course, char value for the class character. All right, next, let's look at some automatic boxing and unboxing. So converting from a value of a primitive type such as int to a corresponding object of associated wrapper class such as integer is what's known as boxing. You can think of the object as a box that contains the value of the primitive type. Think back to one of our very first programming lessons. I talked about the concept of a box. We give it dimensions, length, width, height. Those are the properties. Boom, we're coming full circle right back to the box. In fact, the wrapper object does contain the value of the primitive type as the value of the private instance variable, as I mentioned previously. All right, a boxing example. So here I have a couple of them. So I have an integer, I have a double, and I have a character. Now, note, with each of these, we can write the same thing in equivalent but simpler form. So integer number of samurai equals new integer 42 can be rewritten as integer number of samurai equals 47. Much simpler. Double price equals new double 499.99. It's just double price equals 499.99. Same thing with character grade. So if we look at those simplified versions, this is what's known as an automatic typecast. What is actually done by Java is what we showed in the previous forms using new, but it is handy to be able to write the assignments in the simpler form. So if we quickly just kind of turn back here, notice here I had new, 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 new. But here I dropped the new and simply just went straight to what was in the arguments here for each of those calls. So here it just jumps straight to here. This is a lot easier for writing purposes, and Java will be able to automatically handle that. Now when we look at boxing, the reverse conversion from an object to a wrapper class to its value of associated primitive type is what's known as unboxing, as I've mentioned previously. So here's some examples of automatic unboxing. All right. Integer number of samurai equals 47. Int n equals number of samurai. Double price equals 499. Double d equals price. Character grade equals a. Character c equals grade. So this right here corresponds with this, this with this, this with this. if we look back at our slides from a couple of minutes ago, let me just back it up here real quick with our previous thing on unboxing. So right here. So in here, if I wanted to get before int I equals integer object dot int value, and then here's my here would be where would that value be. If we look at the automatic now, there you go. You notice with the automatic, I don't have those parentheses there anymore because I don't need to cast an argument. So it's a lot simpler to do things with the automatic boxing and unboxing techniques than it is to do it with a manual approach to things. So again, here's this first one. There's the boxing. There's the unboxing. Here's the boxing. Here's the unboxing. Boxing, unboxing. Java automatically applies the appropriate access scissor method in so in our previous page we had int value, double value, and char value to obtain the value of the primitive type that is assigned to the variable. Our previous examples involved either only automatic boxing or automatic unboxing. And the reason we did this is to pretty much to simplify the discussion by allowing you to see the automatic boxing or unboxing. Right? So yes, I could have went and showed all the ways to you had to manually type everything out, but we just went ahead and just showed the automatic one simply because it's nice and clean. Right, automatic boxing and unboxing, consider the following code which uses both an automatic boxing and unboxing. So previously, we kind of like, here's one, here's an automatic box, then I'll show you another example, here's an automatic unbox. Here's an example of when you put them both side by side. So here I have double price equals new double, 1990, price equals new double, price dot double value plus 5.12. Automatic boxing and unboxing applies to parameters as well as the simple assignment statements that we just discussed. You can plug in the value of a primitive type, such as the value of type int, for a parameter in the associated wrapper class, such as integer. Similarly, we can also plug in a wrapper class argument, such as the argument of type integer, for a parameter of the associated primitive type, such as int. And that's going to kind of wrap things up for today, folks. Hopefully you're not too confused with the concept of wrappers. We will be using them more as we kind of get into some of the different things that we will be working with, particularly when we start talking about static methods inside of a wrapper class, which is what our next lesson will be on. All right, folks, until then.